Part 3 of the dispute curation training, retrieving IDP-related data and defining experiments. Here you can find the learning objectives of this part of the training. Discuss the methods to retrieve IDP-related evidence. Explain how to find a UniProt identifier. Define how to annotate experiments and cross-references. Let's see now the methods to retrieve IDP-related data. Let's start from publications. So the strategy includes querying PubMed Europe PMC for publications with disorder-related keywords. Which keywords, which terms could be effective? Terms like intrinsic disorder, unstructured. But you can also look for experimental techniques like NMR or SACS, so experimental techniques that are widely used to study IDPs. The authors of these peer-reviewed publications might also describe disorder without using explicit terms. So you might want to look for terms like visible or missing that could be indicative of the presence of intrinsic disorder in a protein. You can also explore some resources that contain protein structures to see if you could identify some that include intrinsically disordered regions. Resources like PDB for X-ray crystallography, NMR-related methods, electron microscopy, PMRB for NMR spectroscopy, SASPDB for SACS and SANS experiments, MDB for electron cryomicroscopy, and PCDB for circular dichroism. How to find a UniProt identifier for curation in dispute? First of all, we said that when we want to create a new protein entry in dispute, we need to provide a UniProt accession number. And by exploring existing entries in dispute, you will also be able to identify that each one of them has a UniProt accession number associated. So the ideal scenario is that we are reading a peer-reviewed scientific article, and this provides the UniProt accession number that we need for curation. This is most likely not always the case. There are exceptions and there are solutions to these exceptions. So we could find a different identifier for our protein in the peer-reviewed article. In this case, we are going to use the mapping service of UniProt that you can find at this link. You will provide the identifier that you found, the type of identifier that you have found, and you will ask to retrieve the corresponding UniProt accession or identifier. We might also find a sequence in a publication, a protein sequence, and we want to know what protein from which organism it is. In this case, we can use the BLAST search available from UniProt. Of course, criteria that can help you identifying a protein in UniProt could be the protein length, the source organism, or region boundaries. When we find a protein, and we find it both in SwissProt and Tremble, we will of course choose the SwissProt entry because it's the curated one. Once we have created an entry, we have a peer-reviewed scientific article that we want to annotate. We want to add the technique or the techniques used to assess intrinsic disorder data from that publication. As mentioned before, we are going to use terms from the Evidence and Conclusion Ontology, ECO. And you will be able to search for the appropriate ECO terms from this Search in ECO box available from the curation interface of dispute. For example, you want to look for nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. You will type your technique here, click on the search button, and the system will provide you with all the possible terms that match your search. As mentioned before, it's important to select the most specific technique